Hi, hello. I didn't get to use it yesterday, but I finally put in the minimal effort that was needed to do this when I get up and go to the restroom. But when I transition back, since the camera was off, it's like a very blunt turn on. It transitions away smoothly, but it's very blunt when it comes back. So, anyway, that happened yesterday. Didn't need it today. I Today is going to be one of those storytelling types of things, and we try to find a moral. If there is a moral, if I can apply it, I do. I got four different booster packs of cards because I love it, and I don't know how many Dungeons and Dragons cards booster packs I have for Magic the Gathering. So I have two Magic the Gathering. What is this? Innistrad Midnight Hunts, one Disney Lorcana, and one Yu-Gi-Oh. I was looking for Magic. I saw Magic last. I wasn't necessarily going to get Disney Lorcana because my Disney is like hit or miss. And then I got Yu-Gi-Oh because, I've done Yu-Gi-Oh before. I didn't open a booster pack, but I have read Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I love it. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use my favorite virtual assistant, Google, to help me pick one. I have four. So number one is a Magic set. Two is Disney Lorcana. Three is Magic. Four is Yu-Gi-Oh. I got two Magic the Gatherings. So with all that being said, and also this video isn't sponsored by anything except for responsible consumption of substances and content, because why not? Ooh. The limeade just came back, and it tastes like a green popsicle. It's so good. I haven't had a Mike's Hard Lemonade in a minute. I know. It's so good. Hey Google, roll a D4.
It's one.
It's one. I was kind of hoping it would be two. It's fine. I'll do those. This will probably be the next few videos. If I would have come live earlier, maybe not. I was going to say if I would have come live earlier, I could have opened multiple, but I think sometimes, I guess if they work together, they work together. And if they stand alone, I could always timestamp it. Okay, I'm going to have to get some scissors. Excuse me. And we're going to see what these cards have to bring, if anything. Oop. There we go. Oh. Okay. Interesting. There's a barcode over the barcode, and the number is different. I wonder if these are priced differently. I don't know where they go. So what's this? Like this? Is this how there's some like indentation. So this is the pack that I'm opening. I'm kind of looking a little, I feel like it's making me think of Venom from the Wild Unknown archetypes. And I think Venom came out in a way that was supposed to invoke feelings of. Now I feel like there's dust in my throat. I was dusting stuff with my mom earlier with my number one fan. But Venom came out in a way, I don't know if it was meant to look like something or if it just did. But it was supposed to look like the cave and the mountain and what someone found in the mountain. Cool. Here we go. Oh, there's like a werewolf. We got some werewolves. Okay. So I'm gonna do this how I usually do it, and we'll see. We'll see if there's anything there. The thing about Patrick is sometimes he's gonna find something. You know what I mean? It happened last night. It might happen here again. Also, I know I've talked about it before, but I was talking with my number one fan, and I told her I was gonna say this. Um, and I just sort of mentioned how what my journey has looked like in terms of like I was prescribed an antidepressant. I was on it for a semester, and then I can't remember if it was the same semester where I was in a depression group or if it was the next semester. But for me personally, like I feel like my depression was more so related to life circumstances than like purely a chemical imbalance. Because when I got my life circumstances together, I wasn't impacted to the same degree. Definitely to the same degree. I haven't like been depressed since, honestly. Like, has there been a rough? Hey, David, how you doing? Has there been a rough like day here or there? Yeah, but definitely not to the same degree that it was. Excuse me, before. But anyway, I was talking about how a lot of the breakthroughs I've experienced didn't necessarily happen by choice. Like how there were either it was a job that I was given and it was part of my job to do something that I wasn't comfortable with, or like there was one, it was only today was shorter than yesterday. I feel like that means that it went by. I feel like in a lot of ways that's good. So glad to hear it. Like there's been one time that I fell out with um my number one fan, with my mom, and we didn't talk from May to like October, if not November. um but because of that, like instead of relying on her, there were things that I had to do on my own, and it's because I did those things on my own that I got to get a taste of like living on my own, which like set a precedent for me. And I feel like there's been a lot of like precedents that have been set through me being put in situations that I wouldn't have placed myself in. And like I can be stubborn like AF. So I've also learned because of other experiences that I've had, like if it wasn't for those times where I was forced outside of my comfort zone, I wouldn't have discovered that I can live and thrive outside of it. So a lot of what I'm able to do comfortably now is because at some point I didn't have a choice but to at least try. I did have a choice because I could have quit, and that was what I used to do. I used to just quit and give up. But again, like that Saturn return year has been clutch. It's been clutch. I feel like I'm coasting off of a successful Saturn return. Um, but yeah, so now sometimes when I experience certain things, I'm like, did it have to be like, did I have to get that lesson that way? Or did something have to occur in this way? And sometimes I'd be like, yeah, it kind of did, just because I am how I am. Now, that's not for everybody. Like for the person who goes out, who is like the go getter, who seeks opportunity, maybe they don't have to be put in a position where they're forced to do something that they don't want to do. You know what I mean? We all learn in different ways, different modalities of learning. So that was that. I guess I'm going to pull these from the bottom because I flipped it over. And we have this fire lady. She's giving me an energy of the Nine of Wands, but she also kind of feels like a queen, but also like she is kind of a little intense. Like you see those burning in the back. I don't know if that's gonna be like some eclipse energy or what. What's interesting about her is, though, the last Magic the Gathering pack that I opened had the Lantern of Revealing. And in the Lantern of Revealing, we saw that blue light. And it makes me think of course, there's Renf Angel of Time. The flame that cracks his skin is the same as the fire from within. But there was an energy somewhere about like the core. There was something at the core, and you could see it through their eyes. Like whenever there's like an automaton that moves off of whatever power, like if it's a power source that emits a blue light, you see that blue light out of their eyes. And if they have like laser beams or whatever, they'll be blue. Like it'll all match that. Excuse me. And it's kind of giving me that same energy. I mean, here it's fire, but it's because the fire's coming out of her hands. It's her right hand in particular. She's almost giving me Hades from Disney's Hercules, just because his hair is like fire. But it's like with this hand in particular, the way it's just kind of sort of like amassing that fire. And then you can see it in her eyes. I don't know if it'll focus, but I guess also because it's fire, she's giving me Helios. Interesting. Who is she? Light up the night. Way. Wow. Light up the night. I'm kind of loving it low key already. High key. I am high key loving it already. I wonder if it's supposed to be shown that way. Oh, look, now it's focused. You can see her. Oh, no, it isn't focused. Boo. Wait, who was this? I didn't see it when I held it up right, because when I held it up right, it just looked like a piece of the scenery. But there is someone standing before her. This dude. There's someone standing before her. Interesting. I'm intrigued. Color me, I'm very intrigued. Oh, and we got like a full art island card. It's interesting that this is an island and it's not a swamp, because it's almost giving me like bayou vibes. But see, there's also something about this. It's something about the way that the light spills out and illuminates the environment that almost calls to mind Sunder. And I still have these cards like literally right here, because I feel like in Sunder there was another, and then also a little bit like Banishment. And like it's the light of the moon. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a full moon up there. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily super, it's like barely defined. But it's almost giving me Sunder. Because in Sunder, there was a thing that was happening, right? Think like a pillar of lightning. Yeah, in Sunder, there was like this event thing, this epicenter of something back in the background. Hey, Holly, how are you doing? This almost looks like whenever this light up the night lady, this almost looks like the I don't want to say the ruins and I don't want to say the wreckage because I feel like that's a little bit extreme, but okay, I see it. It's almost like whenever like when she's gone, this is the aftermath. But again, it's interesting that it's an island. It's so interesting that this is water. I would think that if anything, I would think it would be like a swamp. It would be dark. I wonder if this is almost an energy of um, because swamps give me still water. There's a lot of stagnant water. But since this is water, it's like it's moving, it's aerated. And then there's the purifying nature of fire or the cleansing nature of fire. So it's like something about the fire has aerated the water to prevent it from being still. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's almost giving me drying. Like when you're drying something, it takes the moisture from the surface. And then as the moisture from the surface evaporates, the moisture closer to the core diffuses because things naturally go from a high concentration to a low concentration. And so it's almost like with that fire, there was a certain layer, at least, of water that was evaporated off. And now either the lower level of water has come up to the surface to replace the water that was lost, or we're just operating at this surface now. Like the evaporation of water is the aeration, was the movement that got these waters moving. And I can see, like, since I'm reading these from the top, I can see these. Um, so I know what's coming next. Usually I read them from the bottom, but I turned it over. These are so good. It's getting a little warm and it's making me sad, but it's still good. So the next card is Return to Nature. Choose one. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile target card from a graveyard. The flavor text is a quote. Even steel and stone return to Grindanu in time. Excuse me, from Catilda the Dawnheart Prime. Even steel and stone return to Grindanu in time. And then we have this like barren tree, this lone tree. Maybe barren is a little extreme, but and then of course, I've been looking at this tree right here. Keep looking at it like, what's this little tree about? Is that even a tree or is that another person? I think that's actually another person. But when I was looking at it upright, it looked like a tree. Like it looked like it was taken, like it was drawn at an angle. But I think that's actually how it's supposed to be. And then you can see like that's a whole person. It's not a tree. It is almost low key bringing certain Easter imagery to mind. What is Danu? Is that like not there a goddess? Okay, she is a goddess, an Irish goddess. I was like, isn't Danu like the name of somebody? Danu is hypothesized entity in Irish mythology whose sole attestation is in the genitive in the name of the whatever this is, which may mean the peoples of the goddess Danu in Old Irish. Despite her complete absence from the primary text, some later Victorian folklorists attempted to ascribe certain attributes to Danu, such as association with motherhood or agricultural prosperity. She has no surviving myths or legends associated with her in any of the medieval Irish texts. What? She may be connected to the Morrigan. Wow. A hypothesized entity. Interesting. Now, how would I have heard of her? Is that the only Danu there is? Probably. Celtic goddess of nature and fertility. She represents wisdom, magic, nature, abundance, fertility, and motherhood. She is believed to be the mother of a certain peoples. Devi Danu is the water goddess of the Balinese Hindus. One of the two supreme deities in the Balinese traditions. Maybe it was that one. Because I'm like, I feel like I really heard this name before. But at least, that one isn't hypothesized. Devi Danu. It's interesting that she has a connection to the Morrigan, though, because this reads as the Morrigan to me. I don't know anything about the Morrigan, honestly, but that I wouldn't be surprised. Return to nature. Even steel and stone return to Grin Danu in time. I guess I could look that up to see what that is specifically, but it was like to Mother Earth. It from context. It's interesting that it can destroy an artifact, though. Or an enchantment. I feel like the most interesting thing is that this return to nature, because what would an artifact have in common with an enchantment? Like an enchantment feels like it would be non corporeal, I guess, unless it was like if a ring was enchanted. But if you remove the enchantment, then the ring would just be a ring. To destroy an artifact is like, I feel like another interesting thing about that is, let's say that the ring is an artifact. The enchanted ring is an artifact. You can destroy an artifact by destroying the enchantment on it. You don't necessarily have to break the ring. This is almost giving me it's giving me something of a story where it's like there's something divine that was given or bestowed. And in order for that bestowment to be annulled or destroyed, it would take an act of the divine or an act on that scale of magnitude. And it's bringing to mind, it's like one story that I read about where there was someone who had curried the favor of the gods. Well, I think there's another one, Cassandra. Well, that was probably different. I think that's because Apollo liked Cassandra, and Cassandra was like, yeah, no. And then Apollo couldn't take his gift away, so he cursed her. So she was given the gift of prophecy from the God of prophecy, kind of sort of like in exchange for her hand in marriage, and she didn't marry him, and he couldn't take the gift away from her. So he cursed her that no one would believe her. So yes, like her, she still had her gift of prophecy because that couldn't have been taken away. But then to negate it, she was cursed that no one would listen. And it brings to mind another story where it's like someone had curried the favor of a god because of something that they had done, but then they had grown proud and arrogant, and basically like there had to be this whole thing to undo what was given at one point. More so that than Cassandra. But maybe that's why like she's showing up. I don't know. But it's like it's just like all of this light, all of the light that spills out on this otherwise dark landscape feels like that is the breaking of this artifact or the removal of an enchantment. So the next card is Might of the Old Ways, which is an instant card. Target creatures get +2 power and toughness until end of turn. Target creature. Coven. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. The flavor text is brimming with power from their disrupted ritual. The Dawn Heart Witch is lashed out at the werewolf intruders. Goodness. This is almost a strength in numbers. Because if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, then you get to draw another card. Just the fact that this is like Might of the Old Ways itself. Might of the Old Ways itself is like this, even within mythology, mythical Celtic goddess. Hypothesized. Celtic goddess hypothesized because of her name and the name of a people's. And it's like with the name of the peoples, they have to belong to some, like how they say that in Old England or in the area, like, or even in Irish, like with Mac and O, I don't remember which is which, but one is the son, or I guess daughter, and another one is the grandson or the granddaughter. So like O'Malley would be either the son or grandson of Malley, and then like Matt Kinley would be either the opposite of Kinley. But it's like, you know, William's son is the son of William. Brookson is the son of Brooke. So it's kind of like that because it's conjugated in a certain way. Like if someone's name is Williamson, then there had to be a William for the son of William to exist. And so it's almost like that. I'm assuming, because again, I don't know nothing. But it's like because of the Danan or whatever, I would have butchered it. It's like because of the word, they assume that there's a Danu because of the genitive form. So that's why it's like, well, the goddess had to be there, or it had to originate from somewhere or from someone. This Might of the Old Ways is so interesting. This is so interesting to me. I almost feel like, so technically I'm reading this again, like I said, I'm reading this in the reverse order that I would usually read it in. Because this could very well be this. Brimming with power from their disrupted ritual, the Dawnheart witches lashed out at the werewolf intruders. Like this could be the lashing out, brimming with the power from the ritual. Now, if this is them lashing out against the werewolves, what's interesting is something about that fire has the power to transform the werewolf back into the man. But maybe that would be the removal of the enchantment. Like if it's an enchantment or a curse that turns men into wolves. See, but then it's because I would be, maybe it depends. This also brings to mind, so there's an anime that I'm watching, and there are people who are blessed by a goddess. It's like demons versus the humans. And the goddess favors the humans. And so they get like powers or blessings from the goddess. And there are these rings that the demons get possession of that when they're broken, they nullify the goddess's gifts. Now, there was one character, because he was so reliant upon the gift of the goddess that he didn't really develop his combat ability. He was given immortality like at night or something like that, or in the daytime. I don't remember. But like no one knows that besides him, but all of his battles are conducted in that way. So he has to be like, oh, well, our enemy is, they're going to be more susceptible at night. So we're going to do it at night or the daytime. Because again, I don't remember. But when he hears that his blessing is broken, he can now die. He's not invulnerable. So he's like, we need to retreat right now. And then there's two heroes. The other hero is like, what are you talking about? Like, we can still fight. So she actually developed competencies beyond her blessing and ability given by the goddess. There's another character who was cursed by the goddess. He wasn't blessed by the goddess, so there's nothing to nullify with him. But anyway, it brought that to mind when it was like destroying an artifact or an enchantment. But it was an artifact or enchantment that's used to disrupt other ones. Anyway, why did I bring that up? Oh, because it turns the werewolves back into men. But my thing is like, maybe it depends on the person. Because I'm like, if this person couldn't control their werewolf urges, but they were a good human, like bad werewolf, good man, and the werewolf curse was broken, then is the man still responsible? And that's a whole bucket of worms, metaphorically, that we could get into that we're not. Just things to, like a story, things to ponder on, I guess. But it's interesting. It's like it's something, but maybe that's that return to nature. Like this fire can return something to its true nature. And the nature of the man is not the beast. The nature of the man is related to the man, the person. It doesn't have to be a man specifically, in general. So and then it's almost like there is this one back here that is looking a little bit more beastly. But maybe that's just because it's burnout. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like this one is almost looking like it could be more of like still a werewolf. Maybe the nature of that man was the beast. And because the nature of the man was a beast, it had burned. This is so interesting though, after the I Ching that came out yesterday. Specifically the part where it's like we can take on things that are not ours. So it's not necessarily our burden to bear. And so in the presence of this, it would be like lifted because it's not us, because it's not ours. This is almost giving me that Dwarven magic too. Every time I talk about it, I share the clip where it's like the nature of the thing is more important than the form of the thing. In Dwarven magic, you can use the nature of something to do the impossible. You can use a bag to capture the sound of the wind because it's in the nature of a bag to hold things. So it doesn't matter if the sound of the wind is tangible or not. In Dwarven magic, like that's what a bag does. And it's interesting because I'm watching another anime. I watch a lot of anime and I have a lot of dreams and I got a lot of context, okay? But in this other anime, it was a magic anime and it's all about what you can like magic is about what you can envision yourself doing. And it was a test for the highest rank of magician in the country or in the world, in this world. And one person failed because they couldn't envision themselves being a first rank mage. So they failed because magic is all about if you can or can't envision it, then it will or won't be. There was one person who failed because she had known the proctor personally and she was like, she's never going to pass me. So she didn't get passed. She's like, you failed because you can't imagine me passing you. And she went into it. So she was like, it's okay. I don't want this anyway, you know. But she was like, the person that I'm with, there's no way that she's gonna anyway. I got lost. It's about what you can imagine, it's about what you can see. Where was I going with that? I really just went on a whole tangent. It was relevant, I promise. Am I still talking about the ring? Why am I talking? I feel like I wasn't. It's fine. What was I talking about? Was it the return to nature? Wow. Now I'm a little bit upset because I feel like I had a really good point, but it's fine. Oh, it's empty. I should use my BRB screen to go grab another one. You know what? I am. I'll be right back. Maybe it'll come back to me. Ooh. Did y'all hear that pop? The creak of my bones and joints. I went for the black cherry because it's my other favorite. I'm only 4 cards in. It's 12 cards. I think the limeade is beating out the black cherry. Excuse me. I'm surprised. I didn't expect to like the limeade, honestly. So where was I going with that? I feel like I had a decent point. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me. Okay. So, might of the old ways. Brimming with power from the disrupted ritual, the Dawnheart witches lashed out at their werewolf, intruders. This isn't Berserker vibes. Maybe I'll just keep moving. Clarion Cathars. It's a human night creature. When Clarion Cathars enter the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human creature token. The sound of the trumpet is both warning and comfort. It tells of approaching danger, but also reminds the village folk that someone is there to stand against it. I kind of like that. I kind of love that high key. But now there's a question here of who is afforded this salvation. And it's a question because here the witches are disrupted by the werewolves. And it feels like the witch could be one of the dangers that the knight would warn against. Kind of like burn her energy at the stake. So that's why I'm like, well, or is this something happening somewhere like completely different? Search party captain is a human soldier. This spell costs 1 less mana to cast for each creature you attacked with this turn. When search party captain enters the battlefield, draw a card. Werewolves leave messy trails, easy to follow, hard to forget. I'm almost wondering if this is like happening somewhere else. Like this is a different battlefield or a different place where the werewolves are invading. Messy trails, easy to follow, hard to forget. I feel like my mind is just like not here. Um, maybe I'm still on that question of like who was afforded this protection. Which is interesting. I might actually, if this is all occurring in the same place, to be the witch that is facing off with the werewolf and to hear the clarion. Or, like, let's say that you're not a witch, that, look, to be the witch and to hear the clarion call is to know that the army is moving on a threat that's probably the werewolves in this universe. So to hear the clarion call is to be alerted to the danger of the werewolves, but also to be alerted to the presence of the army. So it's like it may not like there may not be any comfort there. It's like, oh great, the person that's coming to handle the situation is gonna handle me too if they find me. And then we have the search party captain that's, oh my gosh. I'm dropping all of the bottle tops today. Then we have the search party captain that's, it feels like the search party captain is very good at what they do. And then maybe it's up to the search party captain to like evaluate the different threats, right? That's for the witch that wouldn't be aware of the werewolves. Or, I mean, I guess for the witch that is currently fighting the werewolves, not only do they have to deal with the threat that's in front of them, but a potential threat that is also coming. And they're still brimming with this power from the disrupt. There's something about the disrupted ritual too, where it was power that was gained for a purpose. And because the purpose is unfulfilled, that power doesn't have anywhere to go. Or the power hasn't left because the ritual wasn't completed. Now, luckily, it seems like they can use this power to defend themselves. I really don't know where I was going with that. I really wish I could remember, but it's fine. The next card is Foul Play, which is a sorcery card. Destroy target creature with power 2 or less. Investigate. So when you investigate, you create a colorless clue artifact token with 2 mana cost for a sacrifice this artifact and draw a card. The evidence was the evidence was overwhelming. Tavalar's Howl Pack was getting bolder, smarter, and stronger. Now, the return to nature can destroy an artifact. Oh. With a name like Foul Play, it's almost implied that the investigation is like crooked. Like this is planted evidence. But since the return to nature can destroy an artifact, this return to nature can invalidate whatever false evidence that is like brought to the table. This return to nature is like, it's interesting. This is almost giving me almost like a justice energy, I guess. Or it's like the Semikiel, the angel of vengeance. I say justice because when justice is called like divine justice, it cuts in every way. So it's not like, we call down divine justice because we feel wronged by someone else and we are immune to investigation. Divine justice will also evaluate us. It evaluates everything that is within its vicinity. So it's like everything in the presence of this light up the night, the true nature is revealed. So it will turn beasts with the nature of men into men. It will turn men with the nature of beasts into beasts. And for anything that is false, it will reveal it as such. And it almost feels like there would be great shock and awe at what is revealed. And I almost wonder like what the purpose of this ritual was. And I wonder who's all in attendance. Because again, it almost goes back to how the witch is a threat to how the witch also fears the clarion call. But it's like if this is a witch that has done nothing wrong, and if those who follow the clarion call know that this is a witch that has done nothing wrong, but if they've created a narrative against the witches as like these evil, malevolent whatevers, then it's like the truth will be revealed. Like what one deems as a witch could be someone who has the gift of healing, just like naturally has the gift of healing. But because the healing of the witch interferes with the healing of the church, then she's seen as a threat. Because if people go to the witch to be healed, then they're not subjecting themselves to the words of the church. And like this, the gift of healing that the witch is given as a divine gift. So it's like this is a righteous witch. She may not necessarily follow the what's the methodology of the church, but like she is righteous. That's like a God-given gift. But again, like people don't go through that process, then she's seen as an interference. And so then there could be all kinds of things that are said about her. But in the presence of this light of the night, that foul play would be revealed as foul play. That whole, like all of that evidence that they had against whoever, it would be revealed as false. And then that's why it's like, I wonder who's in attendance when this happens. Because if the townsfolk aren't in attendance, and if the army, if the knight and the soldier and everybody else can just cover it up, then it's like, well, does it really matter? If the people aren't made aware, if the people don't know, because the witch would know, and the clarion or the army would know. If the citizens aren't there, if the people aren't there, then there's no one who would be there that doesn't already know the truth for the truth to be revealed. You know what I mean? Interesting. Next, we have Infernal Grasp. Destroy target creature, you lose 2 life. Ancient evils dwell within the burning chasm called the Ashmouth, ever ready to devour those foolish enough to travel alone. I'm like just looking at how they're like gripping his head or this person's head. Smash Mouth. I'm trying to think of, is that Green Day or is that Smash Mouth? I feel like that is Smash Mouth. What's that? It's not the All That Glitters Is Gold, even though that may be Smash Mouth. Wait, that is that song. And that is Smash Mouth, All Star by Smash Mouth. It's because in my line, it wasn't that All That Glitters Is Gold. It was, it's a cold place and they say it gets colder. You're growing up now, wait till you get older. But the medium and begs to differ, judging by the hole in the sunlight picture. It's a cool place and they say it gets colder. You're bundled up now, wait till you get older. My world's on fire. How about yours? Oof. Maybe that's the line. My world's on fire. How about yours? It's the way I like it, and I'll never get bored. That is Smash Mouth. It costs life to destroy this target creature. And this sorcery, destroy the target creature with power 2 or less. The only thing that can be destroyed by this sorcery on the table so far, it's only 2 creatures on the table so far, is the search party captain. This makes sense. It makes sense why foul play would destroy the search party captain, because you could plant false evidence. It's known that the trail of a werewolf is messy. So all you have to do is leave a messy trail. See, this is that space where people become capable of things that are like just really gruesome. Again, because it's like, what would have to be done in order to create a trail that looks like it's left over from like a werewolf? And who could do that to somebody? Maybe it's this. the question of who could do that to somebody, and then we have infernal grasp. It's like it's not a thing that people should be capable of doing to other people. It almost does ring a little infernal. But people will do it. Like people do it. Regardless of whether or not they're like influenced or affected, like people still do it. You know. Next, we have Dreadhound. When Dreadhound enters the battlefield, this is a demon dog creature given Hecate, I guess. Did she not come out recently? She did come up recently. What? How specifically? I don't remember. Excuse me. When Dreadhound enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Whenever a creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from a library, each opponent loses 1 life. It herds souls toward eternal torment, is this Dreadhound. This Dreadhound feels like karma. Karma catching up to whatever this foul play infernal grasp energy is. You know, I was playing another game where there's a monster. And I was going to actually talk about that game because it's so interesting. It was so interesting. But I hadn't. There's a monster in that game. And then you go up a floor and you see that the monster was created. Like there was, and it's interesting because it's giving, not Eisenhower, whoever's foul play. Whatever the foul play card was, I mean, I guess it's literally right here, so I could. It's giving that vile, not foul play, the vile abomination. Like the monster was created. They were seeking transformation. They were seeking the power of transformation to get beyond a door that was created by fairies. But what happened is they created a monster. Where is this card? Irenicus. Irenicus is vile duplication. That's what it's giving me a little bit. And this Dreadhound is coming to collect. Like, this is karma. This Dreadhound, it could be destroyed by Infernal Grasp because it just says destroy target creature. It would cost 2 life. But then they would lose another life because then this creature would like die, right? Whenever a creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from a library, each opponent loses 1 life. Everyone would lose 1 life. But it's too strong to interrupt with this foul play. It has more than 2 toughness. More than 2 power. 2 power and less for foul play. But I don't think the Infernal Grasp would necessarily like destroy one of their own type energy. I mean, I guess it depends. Wasn't necessary. Like, this is heavy karma. Heavy on the karmic energy with this. It's like time to collect. Like the foul play, the false evidence, the false narratives, the shifting of blame, all of that, it had its time. But now it's like it's time for some things to come to the light. True nature revealed. What is, again, light up the night. Everything that was unseen is now seen. That which happens in the dark always comes to the light type energy. Light up the night. What's way? The only thing I think of like is way. 你脚小姐在不在？不在。去哪里？去买菜。咕噜咕噜打电话。Rock paper scissors. Like that's what I think. Like you say it when you answer the phone. 喂喂喂，你叫小姐在不在？Also, a novelist and poet about the Korean War. Wrote a novel about the Korean War. So, Wei Wei means of high and stable appearance. How did the Chinese word Wei become the common phone greeting? That's a good question. It's used as a common phone greeting in Mandarin. Its usage as a phone greeting likely originated from its meaning as hello or hey in informal spoken language. When answering the phone, people often use wei to acknowledge the call and indicate that they are ready to communicate. Over time, this practice became established as the standard phone greeting in Mandarin speaking regions. That like acknowledge the call and indicate that they are ready to communicate. That is so interesting. That is so interesting. The way of high and stable. What did it say? Where was it? High and stable appearance. Of high and stable appearance. Because it feels like that is this lady. Like she is one of high and stable appearance, which is why she's capable of channeling this energy. And again, obviously, if you've been here, it takes me to the Ten of Swords, the Destroyer, preparing the vessel to receive a gift from the divine. And then, like, the Clarion is here. But, like, that torch and this fire, like the torch that that person is carrying, and, like, the torch that this person is. If I can pick up the card, this would be easier with two hands. There we go. Like, this is two different kinds of torches. These are two different lights. Like, you know, and this one is apparently known to engage in some foul play. So it's connected. Acknowledge the call and indicate that they are ready to communicate. Just that, like, acknowledge the call. I feel like I've been seeing, like, the call all over the place. And this is almost like, again, something about this demon dog where it's like the dark will collect on the dark, or the dark will collect on the shadow. Something about this dread hound. So to mill 3 cards, you put the top 3 cards from your library into your graveyard. But whenever a card is put into the graveyard from a library, each opponent loses 1 life. So to play this card, I wonder if the milling happens like when the card is played. I wonder if the effect of everyone losing life is when the card is played or after the card is played. Because when you play the card, you have to mill 3 cards. So that's already 3 life that everybody's losing. The next card is the Tireless Hauler, a human werewolf. We see a human werewolf as a human. The beast whose nature is a man. Oh, sorry. Oh, snap, never mind. Oh, wait, hold up. Yeah. Okay, well, never mind. I saw it on the day side because I saw the little sun and I was like, hold up. Does that mean, yeah, there's the night side. There's a werewolf. But it came out day side. And because, I could be optimistic sometimes. It has vigilance. It's day bound. If a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. The new hire proved more than enough to replace the three farmhands who disappeared the week before. Oh, gosh. We don't know why they disappeared, okay? It could have been another werewolf. That's suspicious. But also, this brings to mind the Ten of Wands. I think the Ten of Wands was the last card that came out in the Tarot Apocalypsis. And it's interesting because this did give me a Nine of Wands energy. So in the Ten of Wands and the Tarot Apocalypses, there's one person who is hauling an entire pyramid. And there's like the nine wands up there, but it's because the Ace of Wands provides enough fuel that he can like do it. This would be a little suspicious. Like, is it suspicious or is the dude just like physically gifted? You know what I mean? Does he just bench a lot? Or is he a werewolf? Turns out he's a werewolf. So on the night side, if a player casts at least two spells during their own turn, it becomes day the next turn. It says a few townsfolk had their suspicions, but none dared accuse him openly. So yeah, they were like, you know what, this behavior is suspicious, but we're not going to say anything about it. Is this still like, he could still be a good werewolf though? You know what I mean? It's possible. I mean, he's a farmhand. And again, there was something about this energy here where in this return to nature, there was a werewolf who transformed back into a man because his nature was the man. His nature was not the beast. And it almost seems like, in my mind, this is how the story is unfolding for me. It almost seems like there is like an organization of werewolves. It's like in Twilight, how they don't drink human blood, they drink like animal blood or whatever. It's like that for like werewolves, where it's like they do no harm to people, you know, and they sent like there's this whole organization of good werewolves. And so they sent this guy to investigate why three people just went missing because they're like, we need to know. And because of this foul play, because of the foul play that's still only powerful enough to destroy the search party captain, foul play that can only misguide this search party captain. There was already an energy of someone creating a trail that looked like it belonged to a werewolf. And here we see the werewolf whose nature is that of a man instead of it being one of a beast. So it's like he does some investigating to conclude that it's not a werewolf, it's people. It's people who are out there murdering and dismembering people, creating these bloody trails. For what reason and for what purpose? Maybe he doesn't know. But this foul play already came out. If I were to follow this story, it would be for this reason. Somehow it puts the witches against the werewolves. Even though these are werewolves with natures of men who haven't given in to their curse or who aren't out there being these murderous beasts. And we have these witches who are divinely gifted or divinely blessed, but the church doesn't like it. And it's almost like to get them to take care of each other, they manufacture this whole like situation. It's your pretty much typical get this person to fight against that person so that no one realizes that whoever's at the top is like benefiting. But I feel like they didn't count on, of course, they wouldn't have counted on this light up the night, return to nature, revealer of things. The beast was the man all along. The real beast. And that's the thing. Like, well, if it wasn't a werewolf, I had not seen that movie, no. If it wasn't a werewolf, then who was it? And then it's like the townspeople may be like, how are people capable of such carnage? Like, it was a really convincing trail. And if it wasn't a werewolf, who could do that to another person? Whoever these Clarion Cathars are, whatever organization, whatever they work for, they're the ones who did all the foul play. And they're supposed to be in the light. See? Supposed to be. And it feels like this search party captain would be the person who joins because they actually want to do good. The search party captain is the one that's led astray. The search party captain is probably the one that's completely unaware that the organization that they work for is even capable of doing something like this. Because it feels like, again, the search party captain really feels like they think it's a werewolf. Like, look at it. No, nothing else has a level of carnage this like bloody or whatever. Even the search party captain is shook. Like, what? No, I haven't seen it. The werewolf is like, it ain't me. The witch is like, it ain't me. And it's interesting that this is returned to nature because both of these are nature cards. Not unsurprisingly, probably. That's why I say it's like sometimes it doesn't. We can be tempted, we can be led to things, but ultimately at the end of the day, we are the ones who do whatever it is that we do. So next we have the Village Watch. Oh, snap. Wait, is this the organization? Human werewolves, haste, daybound. Wolves and werewolves you control have haste when they're nightbound. Yeah, I feel like so it goes from the Village Watch in the daytime to the Village Reavers in the nighttime. So this is just, and it literally came out right after the Tireless Hauler. So she's just giving me like, this is the organization that the Hauler works for. It's interesting, again, this is the first time we see the fire element. It's interesting that they come out in the element of fire because in the element of fire is light up the night. Again, which is just, it's giving me, these are werewolves whose nature is that of the man. Before whatever this energy is, they will turn back into men because their nature is not that of beasts. They're like the ethical werewolves, like the ethical vampires. You know, we don't drink human blood. Like, it's 2000 and whatever year it was in Twilight. Like, we don't have to sustain ourselves off the blood of humans anymore. Is there the impulse and urge, like, sure, for like young vampires or whatever? I've seen some of the Twilight movies. I saw some of the first one and some of, I think, the last one. And then, like, I saw a spoof movie. So my knowledge isn't complete. But it's like there are other things, like we don't have to sustain ourselves on humans anymore. This isn't 18, 17, 16, whatever. Right? The next card is, next is Water and the Swamp. Ludovic, the Necro Genius. Whenever Ludovic Necro Genius enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. You can exile X creature cards from your graveyard, transform Ludovic. X can't be 0, activate only as a sorcery. Oh, snap. Ludovic is a zombie. Because I see the daytime, I'm like, oh, snap, here's the evil werewolf. Excuse me, here's the evil werewolf. The evil werewolf is a zombie. Like, oh, gosh. It's because he had those, like, dark aspects and the water aspects. See, and then this was the purification of whatever this swamp is. The light aerated the waters to keep this from being a swampy, stagnant energy. The light is coming for this guy. It feels like, so this is the organization of the werewolves, like the good werewolves. This is the person behind the foul play and this infernal grasp, and the one, like, this is the one behind all that. So it costs 2 water mana, 2 dark mana, and then additional mana. So whatever you activate in addition, you can exile that number of creature cards and transform Ludovic. What's interesting is before Ludovic transforms, he can also fall susceptible to foul play. I saw that on Instagram, I think, yesterday. It was like the accusations are admissions. Like somebody was accusing other people of doing stuff, come to find out they were doing it. It's like you're accusing people of it because that's what you're doing, because that's who you are. In this whole sham charade. Now, on the other side, as this creature transforms into Olag, oh, look, I didn't even look at the name. Ludovic's Hubris. Ludovic's Hubris transforms him into Olag. Maybe it's because he thought he could get away with all that foul play and stuff. Again, like doing things that people should not be capable of doing to other people. They should just not, like, it shouldn't be within a human mind, heart, consciousness, or psyche to treat people in a certain type of way. But, you know, history proves otherwise. Modern day proves otherwise time and time again. As this creature transforms into Olag, Ludovic's Hubris, it becomes a copy of a creature exiled with it, except its name is Olag, Ludovic's Hubris. It's 4/4, and it's a legendary blue and black zombie, in addition to its other colors and types. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. See, this is why it was giving me the energy of Irenicus's vile duplication. That's why. Because that's what Irenicus's vile duplication did. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Irenicus also created copies. This one creates tokens of whatever is exiled. And it's water. It's like the dark of water. It's that energy of like, even the devil knows the Bible back and front. Right? Just because someone has a knowledge or whatever. And maybe that's what makes it so easy for this Ludovic to engage in this foul play. Because it knows truth. And it uses truth to misguide. It uses truth to misdirect. It uses truth to do all kinds of stuff that is in no way, shape, form, or fashion of anything that is divine, or of anything that is truly progressive and geared towards creating a world where everyone can exist and coexist happily and peacefully, full, fed, fulfilled, and everything else. Because it's not truly within their nature. That's why it's like when it comes time for those things to be like fulfilled, then there's a reason why it can't do whatever. It's like, girl, but like, aren't you all for like world peace? Why are you standing in the way of peace right now? Like, why are you standing in the way of the attainment of a true and actual peace? Or like, aren't you for like ending world hunger? Why are you standing in the way of people being fed? Aren't you Age of Aquarius? Why are you standing in the way of people like having homes or not being on the street? Because you had to work or you had to do this or because you had to do that other people shouldn't have. But it's like, okay, so what's the truth? What do you really think? What do you really feel? What do you really believe? Because your words say one thing, but your actions say something completely different. You know, if it was truly about love, you would see it. Point blank, period. Oh, but now we have the Clarion Cathars again, or Clarion Cathars again, but this one is holographic. This one is shiny. It's almost like this is the real clarion call. Like this is the call that the witches and the werewolves and those who know where they stand with the divine, this is the one that they're not afraid of. This is the one that they feel comforted by. This is the call that they know is truly a result of this guy. And like they know they're being targeted. Like there's a difference between these two. You can see it. It's obvious. It may be less obvious because of my camera, but one is shiny, holographic, one is true, one is not. One is the manipulation of Ludic and engages in foul play, all kinds of grisly misdirection, things that you wouldn't even think people are capable of. But to them, it's just another Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And then the last card is the zombie token. Decayed. This creature can't block. When it attacks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. Didn't necessarily think that this would be going there. Some of these are like kind of dark. Like this one was kind of dark. I feel like the light in this is the light of the night. Like this is the energy where things are being revealed. And we already see things being revealed, and especially right now in the entertainment industry. I'm sure there will be others. I mean, not just the entertainment industry, because there was that documentary that released about the what is it? Cough, 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 cough. Clears throat. And it's like, girl, yeah, exactly. But the folks who like, if you could like, you could see it. You can see when, I guess it depends. People take advantage of people in every arena and whatever, especially if they feel like they can get a quick buck. You know what I mean? Cool. Well, that was the I Ching yesterday, being before the judge, right? It's like you have food and water, you'll be fine. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Only handle what is in front of you. Only take what is for you to take. Don't take any extra. Greed and excess is prone to spoilage and have eyes to see. And that was another thing. It was like it's bad luck for the device to cover your ears. It's bad luck to not even know what you're being charged with or to be unaware. Maybe that's why awareness is so like potentially pressing. Like you will see it without a doubt, without any questions. It will be made very plain and very clear. And for that which operates in the shadow, that is not of the dark, that is of light. The dark that is of light, well, it's again, it feels like this dreadhound is coming to collect on whatever was going on here. That's what the dreadhound is collecting for. And the dreadhound is more powerful than, even in his transformed state, the dreadhound is more powerful than Olag, Ludovic's hubris. So anyway, that's not necessarily the fun, fanciful. Maybe I should have did Disney. You know what I mean? Maybe I should have did Disney Lorcana, because that was a. Oh, I mean, I guess I feel like the comfort in that lies in this card, and the card of things being revealed, and the card of things coming to the light, and the card of the truth. There are a lot of things. I feel like, honestly, there are a lot of things that are demonized that may be demonized for good reason. No. There are a lot of things that are demonized that have the potential to not be as dark as they're made, as like evil. They're not as evil as they're made to seem, but at the same time, it feels like it becomes very easy for one that doesn't have a certain level of ethical moral conviction to do all kinds of stuff that they should not be doing. It's like the barriers to entry shouldn't necessarily be as low as they are for people who are not of a mind or not of a heart to go about pursuing things in the right way. It's almost like the argument with guns, how it's too easy to take so many lives with them. And they're so, in the US, it seems they're so easy to get a hold of. It's like you can have a bad day, a bad week, a bad few days, and go out and take it out on a whole bunch of people who don't even necessarily have anything to do with whatever's going on. And again, it's just like that level, it's almost like a level of maturity that isn't, because I feel like personally, I hear so much about, and I was recently-ish exposed to so much on like, do this and do that, and like put like with spell jars and stuff like that. And it feels like there's not necessarily the same, like, it's just like a level of maturity that isn't necessarily there. It feels like the knowledge is so readily available and accessible that you can be in a misunderstanding or not be and you can just have that information to go and do whatever to whoever, regardless of like if it's appropriate or not. Because I feel like, I guess I'm not in it to see regardless, so I wouldn't know. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But it's like, are those conversations being had where it's like, before you just go out and do something to somebody, make sure that what you think is happening is actually happening? Because, people will project, and, a really good friend of both of ours has shared recently that's like, sometimes, and it's a thing that just happens. I was watching somebody else's video and she literally just said the same thing. It's like people will project their own guilt, their own shame, their own whatever they're feeling about what they're doing onto someone else, and then call it like a spiritual attack or something like that. And it's like, no, girl, that's your karma catching up to you because of what you're doing. That's your guilt. That's your conscience trying to tell you, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done that. That ain't nobody else besides you feeling however you really feel about what you've been doing to other people. And that specifically, I'm not going to say it's never a spiritual attack because I don't know people's lives, but sometimes it's not anybody feeling any type of way about somebody. It's like their own guilt, their own shame, their own lack of accountability, their own avoidance to their own actions. It's a misfortune that they bring upon themselves because of what they do. And again, it's like, it's just so easy now to go out and get all kinds of information on how to do whatever, and there's no basis for it in real life. And so everything that is to be reaped is like, it's to call judgment upon, it's to call consequence upon oneself, because now you out here trying to interfere or do whatever to people who don't deserve it, who didn't do whatever, whatever. And it's just, I feel like that same, again, maybe those conversations are being had, because like I said, I'm not in those circles. I'm not searching that I only know what I'm exposed to peripherally for as brief as that was. And as soon as as soon as my life picked up and I got pulled out of it, I hear like, oh, well, I'm like, yeah, see, I didn't need to be there because that's not for me. But again, I just feel like that level of maturity almost like isn't there. I don't know. So anyway, let's get a final Magic the Gathering card, because I just shuffled all these together, and then I'll end this. One of them just flipped over. Who was it? I hope it was if a daytime, nighttime card flips over and I don't see it, I'm not gonna know. because I have those in here now. But a card did flip over. Oh, if it's Undercity, I wouldn't know that. Oh, no, here it is. Navigation Orb is the one that flipped over. And Navigation Orb flipped over literally right next to Light Up the Night. This is a card that's right next to it. Well, it was this side. And this card is, again, Light Up the Night. Navigation Orb. This is an artifact. It says travel the world without ever leaving the comfort of home. Navigation Orb. Sacrifice Navigation Orb. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards. Reveal those cards. Put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. Land is the source of mana in Magic the Gathering card. Some cards require specific mana. Okay, that didn't. This is face down. That doesn't really help. Some cards require specific mana, like this. Sunder is the card I just opened up to, which is interesting because this did come up in the Sunder booster pack. Like Sunder requires specifically 2 water mana and then 3 mana of any color. Right. And then Myrkul's Edict requires 1 like swamp mana, 1 dark mana, and then 1 mana of any color. Like you get mana from the land in Magic the Gathering. And it was the land, or it was the swamp that was being aerated, purged with that fire anyway. I don't know. It was what it was. I feel like I really should have went for Disney's Lorcana. I didn't necessarily, expect to get on here and be a little spicy, but I guess it is what it is at the same time. And again, I feel like that last Clarion Call, the holographic one, the shiny one, I feel like, again, like that's the one that provides the comfort because it's a true Clarion Call. It's not the Clarion Call of the Hierophant that has for some time been milking the trust of the people and its position and its proximity to the divine or its access to knowledge and information, to lord over people, to what's that word? Not curtail, not covet, to not curiosity, not customize, curate, to curate. That's the word. It hasn't been using its vast expanse of knowledge to curate a specific experience for those that are a part of its flock to sort of follow. Because that Clarion Call is it's a real threat to true actual divine energy. And again, sometimes it's just the limitations of us as humanity, or us as humans and our own egos. Sometimes it's something like, because it's not for us, we think like, I got this message for the collective. Sometimes, yes, and discernment also plays a part. Sometimes, yes, it is a message for the collective. Sometimes it's a message for self. And nobody but us, you know what I mean? But there's always going to be people out there who resonate, so. Anyway, for the Hierophant that curates a specific whatever to kind of sort of create specific pathways, for the Hierophant that has engaged in foul play specifically, I guess it's that time. I don't know if it'll necessarily be the solar eclipse. I don't know if it's necessarily the ecliptic in general, if it's the year of the dragon, if it's just the time that we're living in and the time that we're coming into, if it's the crossroads of destiny that we're at, where so many people call for truth and where our lack of accountability and our questionable ethical moral practices sort of catch up to us. So anyway, I guess that was that. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you have positioned yourself in a way, on a side, at an angle to get something that is like at the very least marginally amazing. And if not, then we all make our own choices and decisions. And our choices and decisions come with consequences. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes neither. Sometimes it just is what it is. And then we get to make different choices or decisions or the same moving forward. It's ultimately a part of the learning process. I don't know. Anyway, good night. Bye.